Hi, I'm Dorcas, and my topic today is un-techy parents. You have music on the computer, Jenny?
Yeah.
Are they? Why so loud?
What?
Hey, turn it off a little bit. I have always wanted to have hymns that I could just play. Is there some way I could? That's one. I guess it's my account. I should be able.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want me to show you now?
Yes. Okay, I want something like.
Let's go to the music store.
Okay, MP3 music store. Okay. Like Joyful, Joyful, we adore thee, or Down to the River, or something like that.
Can you hold the broom, please? Thank you.
Right there, right there. Joyful, Joyful, we adore thee, yes.
How about this one?
Sure. Yes, I love that.
Okay, so you go over here and you buy it. And then it'll be right up here.
Right up
so you just
there.
press the play button
Okay.
and just play.
Thank you. That's cool. I'd like to begin by sharing my experience with technology. I'm 51 years old, and I feel like I'm kind of the meat in the middle of a sandwich because I was born to Amish parents who were born over 90 years ago, and my children are the technological generation that have grown up with computers and cell phones and are very familiar with them, and I've been very much in between. I'm 51 years old, and I'd like to tell you just a bit of my story and my experience with technology, just to help you understand what people of my generation have had to learn and what things have changed for us. As I said, we were old order Amish, and then when I was about between 5 and 8 years old, we got a phone and electricity for the first time, although we still had a buggy at that point. And I just remember my mom being fascinated with this telephone, and she would call her brother Irvin, and she would just have this rapt look on her face, and she would say, "Na is schunt am ringe," which means, "Now it's ringing already." And she just thought this was so amazing. But she and my dad both never really learned the fine art of visiting on the phone. I mean, the phone was what you used when somebody died, or if you had to call the repairman or something like that. You didn't just chat on the phone. And their advancement with technology pretty much stopped right there. They learned to use a rotary dial phone, and that was about as far as it got to this day. When I was in high school, I was in a public high school, and my math teacher was all excited because he got a computer, or the school bought a computer. And at that point, this was this huge typewriter thing on a stand that he would roll into the classroom, and then you had to take a phone and call this place in Minneapolis and stick the phone in a little machine, and it would connect all the way to Minneapolis to the big computer, and then we could type the instructions and program the thing, and it would spit out this tape with little holes punched in. It was complicated, but that was my first experience with a computer. And that was the last for a number of years too, because it was quite a while after that until personal desktop computers actually became widely available. And for a long time, the only way that I had to communicate with family was through a regular telephone or through writing letters. And we spent a number of years up in Canada, and we were in mission work in Canada, and I had a sister who was in mission work in the Middle East, and we would write letters to each other, and it took 2 weeks for those letters to go back and forth. And just to show you how fast technology has changed, when our son Ben was born 20 years ago, we were still in the era of writing letters, except my sister and I, if we had a baby, or if one or the other had a birthday, we would call each other, and it cost $1.50 a minute, but we'd call. So I called her and said, "I had a baby, his name is Benjamin David." And that was 20 years ago. So that was your generation. Think about how much things have changed. I thought I would share the story of our first fax, just to give you an idea of how things have changed. As I mentioned, my sister was a missionary in the Middle East for 17 years, and during the time that she was there, we moved from Canada back to Oregon, and slowly technology progressed for both of us. But before we ever had email, we were still writing letters to each other. Her husband and my husband decided that we're going to figure out how to get a modem and figure out a fax. So this was a really huge deal. I think we maybe even attempted to call to arrange a time. But I know I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and then the phone rang and the computer started buzzing and beeping. It was so exciting. And then I forget how it all transpired, but here was this handwritten message showing up on the computer screen. And of course the computer was this ginormous machine. But there was one problem, and that was that it was upside down. And my husband, who knew more about computers than I did, he fiddled and fiddled with that, and we could not figure out how to flip that upside down or right side up. So my husband hauled the computer to the dining room and turned the whole thing upside down and put it on the dining room table so I could read that first letter from my sister that came by fax. That was a big moment in our lives. But I learned, eventually we got, computers, cell phones, email, all of that. Email, for being on the mission field and having a sister on the mission field, email was a godsend. And then just in the last few years, we got Skype, so I could actually sit down at the computer, put on a headset, and talk to somebody in another country. And if you did not grow up with that, you don't realize what an amazing piece of technology it is. But meanwhile, like I said, I'm in this sandwich because I'm sort of proficient with technology. My parents are still to where they don't email, they don't fax, they don't any of that. They hardly visit on the phone because their hearing is so bad, so I write letters to them. But then my children are all about the rapid texting. I don't know what all they do, but yeah. So the first thing I'd like you to understand in the whole concept of un-techy parents is just to sort of get your mind around how fast things have changed. Because in 20 years, in your lifetime, things changed more with communication than they did in probably 50 or 75 years before that. So you think about your grandparents and the changes that they've been through, it's really difficult to adjust. Imagine yourself, you're learning to drive a car. I'm sure a lot of you are in that stage of life. So you watch your mom and dad, this turn the key, all the little steps, and then eventually they let you back out of the driveway to wash the car, and then your dad takes you to the Walmart parking lot, and you drive in circles and try to hit the brake at the right time and the gas at the right time. And eventually you become very proficient at it. You drive down the freeway, you take road trips, you go get groceries, whatever. Well, imagine that when you're about 35 years old, everything changes. And all of a sudden, everybody switches to little personal jetpacks that take you zooming through the air to go get groceries or go to church or something. And your children, your teenagers, they pick it up just like that. No big deal. But you are like, oh my goodness. Okay, first I turn it on here. No, that's the wrong thing. And you have to learn everything from scratch. Or just, this is another example just to show you what it's like. Let's say that you are finished with high school, you're applying for college this fall, and all of a sudden you find out that you did not have enough math courses, and you have to, this summer, take an algebra course. And you have to take a year's worth of algebra, which is very difficult for you. You don't have a math head, and you have to condense it down in maybe 6 weeks. And you don't have time to process every little step. You just have to cram it in, do your best. That's what it's like for my generation and older to learn technology. So, hopefully that leads to my second point, which is compassion. What we really need from your generation is compassion.
Hello, Grandma?
Yes, this is your grandmother. And I was just wondering how things are with the circle letter, because it should be out by now. I had sent out an email for everybody to have it in by the 10th, and I have not gotten it yet. Do you know anything about it?
Yeah, I kind of have been busy and I kind of forgot. About it. Sorry, but yeah, I'll try. Grandma, I have an idea. You always remember when the circle letter is supposed to go out. Maybe you should compile it together.
Me? Emily, I'm too old. I can't do that.
I'll come down and show you how to do it.
Are you sure?
Well, I mean, you know how to do your email already. It's just an email. That'll be really easy to show you how.
Okay, well, I'll see you in a bit then.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Hi, Grandma.
Oh, hi, Emily. I was glad you could come down and... I don't know. I don't know much about computers.
This is pretty easy. Just get into your email.
Okay. Okay. Juno. Yeah.
Okay. Now click right.
Click right. This.
No. See.
Oh,
read
right. That. Oh, yes. WRITE.
Yes.
Okay.
Are you writing this down?
Oh, I forgot to write it down. Okay. 1. Get into Juno. 2. Click WRITE.
Okay. Now you're gonna have to make a list of all the people you want on. Actually, here I'll just make that for you. See, so here's your address book.
Okay.
I'm making a list of all the different email addresses you want together.
Now, don't forget the grandsons.
I didn't. I got them all.
Okay.
Okay. And now it's a group called Circle Letter. All right.
Oh.
So now, no, you don't have to. Oh, well, actually, yeah. Okay. So then in right here, then for who you just put circle. Letter.
Oh, okay.
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 Now you click on read. Let's just practice with this email here.
Just wait. Click on read.
Okay. Everyone's going to be sending you their emails, and you have to copy and paste it. So you basically just copy and paste it into.
I don't know how to do that.
You don't know how to copy and paste. Okay. So here, let's just practice with this email here. You take your mouse and you highlight it all like this.
Wait. How did you do that? Take mouse.
Okay.
And how did you do that? You
Okay,
push that?
Yeah, you put the mouse at the end of this. Here, you try it. You try it. No.
Oh, what's that?
No, just like normal. Just with your normal hand. Just see?
Oh!
Now
it makes
click
a
on here.
different color.
Click here. Click.
Okay.
And see how that thing says
Oh,
copy?
yes.
Click
yes.
copy. Okay, now go back into your right. No,
With this?
right. Read right.
Okay.
Now click this one button again down here. And now see it says paste.
Paste.
And see?
There it is.
No, you try to do it.
Well, I have to write it down first. Okay. Oh, I don't remember all of that. So you have to walk me through it. Here, you write it down. It's so easy to get so irritated and so impatient at mom or grandma trying to email, trying to learn how to cut and paste this easy stuff. Simple. Anybody should know this. You know, mom learning to to save her document on the desktop. I mean, really, this is not rocket science, except it kind of is. And if you think of it in terms of you in algebra, you have to totally learning a transportation method sometime. It helps you to be compassionate and patient. And it's also helpful to know that it's not just you. There are thousands and millions of young people your age and their parents struggling with that whole thing. Which brings me to my third point, which is you have to remember that communication and relationships are what it's all about. Relationship is a very high priority with God, and communication along with that. If you think about it, God reached out to us before we had any way of reaching out to him. And Jesus came in the flesh like us to be like us so we could understand, that God loved us. God sent the Holy Spirit to teach us and guide us. He sent the Bible, the words to communicate. And it was all about communication and relationship. And God initiated all of it. And so you, as a follower of God, as following Jesus Christ in his footsteps, you need to initiate relationship, particularly with your parents, but also with other people in your life. And so, because of that, it is your responsibility to learn their language, learn their culture, be compassionate, do the work that it takes to have a relationship with them. Some of you probably aspire to be missionaries, which is a wonderful thing. We just spent a month in Thailand, and I was amazed at how hard people work to reach the Thai culture and also the other people groups around there. They study for months, if not years. They live in with families. They make all kinds of sacrifices to learn the language and to learn the culture so they can reach the people. And I think, okay, if you want to go into missions, this is great practice right here. Learn to speak your parents' language, learn their culture, do the work that it takes to reach out to them. And of course, they are your parents. If I were talking to them, I would say the same thing, even more so. But you can't control them. You can't control their behavior and their decisions, and there's a lot you can do to understand them, to be compassionate, to have a relationship with them. And I will add that you will never regret it. Any effort you put into it, you will not regret. I have an example here of a young person in my family who is making an attempt to communicate with her grandparents in a way that they can understand. Jenny just took a typewriter and actually typed up a letter to her grandparents. Jenny's 14, and I am proud of her for doing this because she tried to write about things that they're interested in, actually typed it up on a paper in a way that they will appreciate. Another example of trying to communicate with the older generation. My sister that was in Yemen as a missionary, she now lives in Virginia. And my parents are in Minnesota, and they're both in their 90s and hard of hearing, so it's hard to talk to them on the phone. But last Christmas, my sister Rebecca, she decided she's going to call Mom and Dad and wish them a Merry Christmas. I mean, this is just a basic daughterly duty. She can probably talk loud enough that they can hear her. So she was back in the bedroom, and she called them on her cell phone. And my dad answered, and Rebecca said, "Dad, Merry Christmas!" And Dad said, "Who is this? Dorcas?" And Rebecca said, "No, Dad, it's me. It's Rebecca. Merry Christmas!" And he said, "Oh, Dorcas, oh!" And she said, "No!" And she was screaming by this point, "Merry Christmas! Dorcas? You say it's Dorcas?" And meanwhile, my sister's boys were clear at the other end of the house in the kitchen, and they came back to the bedroom and they said, "Mom, why in the world are you back here screaming Merry Christmas at the top of your lungs?" So she was rather beat out about that conversation, but she tried, and that's all you can ask of any of us. The fourth thing on the subject of un-techy parents goes right along with communicating, and that is respect and honor. Emily, could you help me with something here? Yes. Can you help me with something here?
One you need.
Okay. This is an article I'm working on, and I somehow, okay, like if when you open your computer up, there's all these little squares. And, you know, that you click on, and I'd like to have that article just right there as one of those little squares, and I don't know how to do it.
You seriously don't know how to do that?
Well, don't be so hard on me, I've just never had opportunity to do this. But would you mind showing me how?
We have to right now.
Yes, so it's something I'm working on, I need to have, yeah.
Okay. So open it up.
Okay, right there.
Now, put a little round thing
Down here?
right there.
Okay, then what?
Save as.
Okay.
Now it says where you want to save it, right? Desktop.
You write desktop?
I mean, like, click the desktop button.
Oh, duh. Okay. So,
Save.
Save. Ah, there it is! There it is! On the page! I did it! Emily, I did it! In the Ten Commandments, that was the specific command to children, to honor your parents. And I found it interesting in the questionnaires that different ones of you sent back that it really is a priority among you to honor your parents. And certainly some of you have very normal struggles in feeling like maybe they don't see my point of view, one of you said, or don't always understand, or they ask me too many questions about my weekend. Trying to understand where they're coming from has been difficult. But also I found that all of you just really felt a sense of responsibility in taking the initiative in communicating with your parents and in respecting and honoring them. And I think God will very much bless you for that. And definitely in this whole area, what is in your heart will come out, technology or not. And it's not like technology will turn a young person from a nice, cooperative, smiling young person into a sassy, just respectful young person. That's not going to happen. Technology is just a tool, and it brings out what's already there in your heart. The Bible often talks about glory and honor, and it's good to understand the difference. It talks about both with Jesus, bringing him honor and glory and praise. Often, honor has to do with a person's position and who they are. Glory has to do with what they do. People are glorified for what they accomplish and what they achieve. And so sometimes young people wonder, well, how can I honor my parents if they don't deserve it? Maybe they abandoned me, maybe there's abuse issues. But in that situation, you cannot especially glorify what they do because they make bad choices. In that situation, you can't really glorify their behavior and their choices because they weren't right. You can certainly make an effort to find something, maybe providing for the family or being a good cook or something, but you can certainly honor. And honor has to do with treating as valuable, speaking respectfully to them and about them, choosing to be positive and not negative, putting them first in your decisions, keeping them informed. There's all kinds of ways that you can honor your parents, even if you have a difficult time with what they do, or if you have difficulty understanding each other. And, just some really basic things. Do not use the word duh around them or in reference to them. And don't roll your eyes, that kind of thing. One huge way with technology that you can honor your parents is to help them figure out all these devices, which come very easily to you because they're somehow wired up through your arm to your brain. But it doesn't work that way for your parents. So if you can help your mom learn how to text or save a file on the computer, help your grandma email. Everyone in your life will bless you for that. All of my children have been good with that. Our oldest son, Matt, seems to have a special gift, and he can fix anything involving a computer, and he has this amazing way of helping people with technology without making them feel stupid. Now that is a gift. And so he's helped me many, many times. He helps his grandma, he's helped Aunt Rosie, he helped Great Aunt Susie, and now he is working in Washington, D.C. on the 4th floor of this building, and he said he just can't escape it. The 50-year-old ladies on his floor, if they have a computer problem, they're supposed to call IT, but they call him because it's a lot quicker and he's a lot nicer. So, the Bible talks about a chosen generation, and we are a chosen generation in that we know Jesus, but you guys are a chosen generation in that you've had this fantastic opportunity of communicating easily with technology. And so I hope you really learn how to use it in such a way that my generation rises up and calls you blessed for it. The last thing I'd like to talk about as far as un-techy parents is to be open with your parents. If you're involved with technology quite a bit and your parents are not, and I'm talking texting, Facebook, instant messaging, that kind of thing, it's very easy for you to hide a lot from your parents. And if there's stuff that messages you're sending and so on that you feel like they should never see, I would like to caution you about that and have you really think about why that is. Now, if a friend is confiding in you about something, that's a whole different situation. But if you're texting a boy or a boy's texting you, you're not quite sure how to handle it, you don't know if you're being too, whatever the word is, forward with him or something, or inappropriate, that's the kind of thing that you really should not be keeping from your parents. And I would encourage you, don't see it as a shameful thing, like, oh my goodness, I'm so bad, I just have to hide this, I don't know what to do, but just have an honest conversation with them. This guy I met is sending me messages on Facebook. What should I do? How much is okay? And if your parents don't want you messaging on Facebook or texting, then please honor and respect that. My guess is that for many of you, your parents are paying for the internet at your house, the computer, the phone, whatever. And so certainly if you're a minor, and for sure if they're paying for it, you really owe it to them to have an open and honest attitude about this. And the thing to ask yourself is, why? If you feel like you need to be secretive, why do you feel that way? And what benefit is there in I would really encourage you, just for your own safety, to be open and honest with your parents about your social media. So to summarize, I just want you to know that a lot has changed, and your generation is really the first one to grow up with this level of technology from the time you were little. And so you're a special generation in many ways, and God has some really special opportunities for you with that. But please be compassionate with my generation, with your parents who didn't grow up with it and have had to learn it from scratch when they were older. The third thing is, just remember that God puts a high priority on relationships and on communication, and we should too. He also puts a very high priority on honoring and respecting your parents, and that affects every area of your life, and particularly the technology. And the last point, remember to be open with your parents. It's the safest and the best route to take. So my prediction is that the world will turn around a few times, and all of a sudden everybody will be going around with jetpacks, and you'll need to go to the grocery store, and you'll be calling on your teenager to help you figure this thing out. You can go to the grocery store and get groceries, and they'll be laughing, but hopefully they'll help you out. For this section, I thought I would share some of the responses that I got from some of you about your communication with others and your activities online, and how you have been blessed by electronics and social media. And I just found this really interesting, and I think you will too. One person said, "I'm someone who prefers to just talk to people. Although I don't march up to people and become good friends in a day, I like to spend one-on-one time with them and doing things that both of us would enjoy. And sometimes I like to be quiet and listen to them. I find it very interesting to listen to others' view on things. I tend to find out a lot about them that way." And I was very blessed with how many of you said that face-to-face is your best way of communicating. And I really want to affirm you with that, because I really think that is God's ideal, that if you can, you interact with people face-to-face. And then this person also said, well, the question was, what do you do if the other person doesn't like your preferred means of communication? And you said, I don't really know of anyone who doesn't like talking. Twyla said, one of my biggest fears with communicating with other people is the fear of being misunderstood, because I think that I often have a problem with saying things I want to say the wrong way. And here's where you really have to give yourself some grace, because communication takes work and it takes a lot of learning, and everybody communicates a little bit differently. So what one person understands, the next person might not. I have used technology for the kingdom by using various types of technology to encourage others and pray for them and share Christ with them. Good for you. Joanne says, most of my communication is face-to-face. I have a few pen pals and occasionally write to my grandma. I think grandma loves that, I'm sure. And some of the biggest struggles, saying how she really feels with her parents, and also if I sense someone is not really listening, I stop talking and find it harder to talk the next time when they are ready to listen. And that's a very important concept for me as a mom to remember, is to listen when somebody's ready to talk. Anna said, I have tried to use Facebook for some encouragement at times, and I email a lot of my girlfriends personally with Bible studies and stuff. So that's good. Anna also says, God has blessed me a lot in friendships. I have so many amazing friends. They've been a huge help, just with random calls and messages on Facebook and a lot of awesome emails. Sierra said, I'll do whatever it takes to communicate. I hate calling on the phone, but I'll do it if I have to. Well, if that's what it takes. Good for you, Sierra. She uses texting to write out prayers for her friends. I love that idea. Christy said, fortunately, in my circumstances, most people like her method of communication, which is face-to-face. And it allows her to communicate with anyone in her preferred method. Okay. She uses her phone and texting to encourage her friends, share experiences, and to remind them that I care. She quotes inspirational verses and quotes on Facebook, which I think is a very good use for Facebook. Another one said, the biggest struggle with parents is impatience. I want them to work their schedule into mine and only talk to me when I want to. Another person said, I just recently listened to a speaker over video live at a girls' conference. It was really moving and encouraged me to set my life apart from the world and live a life focused on Christ. And Kelsey said, Long distance relationships by texting are not my preference. Sometimes it seems easier that way, but you feel like you know them by texting and you meet them face to face and it can be awkward. And she says the internet is probably not a good place to reprove or rebuke. So I hope this has been helpful for you, just in giving you a few ideas, and particularly in making you realize that whatever struggles you're going through with communication or with social media and probably your parents and dealing with people and relationships, you're normal. These things are normal, but there are answers. And again, Jesus is living in your heart, working these things out, and there's grace. You're allowed to make mistakes, and you're always going to be learning. Even at my age, you're going to be learning. So God bless you, and have a great time at the camp.